Hello everyone, and welcome. My name is Phyllo, and today we are finally talking about the Limsa Lominsa starting area. I'd like to give a small disclaimer before we start that many of these names are rooted in Icelandic culture, and I'm not really familiar with the dialect, so I will probably butcher most of these, and I'm sorry for it. I will do my best, but with that, let's get started, shall we?
Here. Here. Feel. Hear, feel, think.
We awake from a strange dream about a talking crystal to see that we're on a ship, and the man near us tells us that we are moaning in our sleep and sweating bullets. He wonders if we are seasick from being on the ship, but upon further inspection, he realizes we aren't seasick, but most likely affected by the aether, noting that some people are more sensitive to it than others. He comments that we'll soon get used to the aether, and he plans to go out on deck and tells us we should join him, as it may help us feel better since Limsa Lominsa is still a bit ways off, and the young twins don't care for conversation. He tells us his name is Brennan, and he is a peddler before we head out on deck. On deck, he takes a look at our outfit and guessing that we must be a new adventurer. He asks us what first attracted us to adventuring, and we respond with power. He later makes sure that we mean power to do good, which we do. He tells us that once we dock at Limsa, we should head to the Adventurers Guild, and they'll set us on the right path. He recommends we also join a guild, and there even happens to be one for axe swinging. Suddenly, we're attacked by pirates and ordered to go below deck. While waiting, Brennan says that the pirates have balls for attacking a ship flying Lominsa colors. One of the sailors later informs us that we can relax, as we are out of cannon range, and with the wind in our sails, we are guaranteed safety. Back on deck, Brennan asks us if this is our first trip to Limsa Lominsa, which we say it is, and he joyfully offers to tell us about our destination. Limsa prides itself on being Eorzea's main naval power. Not too long ago, the place was ruled by pirates, but the admiral's influence has made the city-state pass for a respectable nation, and you'd never guess that she herself was once a buccaneer. However, some aren't as quick to change, and the town also has ruffians, making her have to deal with many naysayers and troublemakers. On top of pirates, the Sahagin have been raiding the coast. They are sea-dwelling beastmen, and the locals often call them fishbacks. Finally, we've reached Limsa.
On a windswept isle in the southwestern corner of the realm, amidst the roiling waves of the Rotano Sea, lies the maritime city-state of Limsa Lominsa. To this haven for bandits and brigands, cutthroats and curs, seekers of both freedom and fortune, comes a lone adventurer. Lone yet not alone, for the hero's arrival has drawn the gaze of the nation's patron deity, Limlane. What realm-shaking fate has she descried in the churning waters of this mortal's future?
Brennan tells us that this is where we part ways, as he's off to the markets to deliver his wares before traveling further. He gives us a gift as thanks for saving him from the cannonball earlier, and comments that we never did tell him our name, even though he never asked, and that we need to become someone worth him bragging about knowing.
Through peril and hardship, discovery and triumph, may the navigator guide this brave soul on his life's voyage, till sea swallows all.
A member of the Yellow Jackets flags us over to him, and he wants us to tell him why we have come to Limsa before we can freely roam about. Upon learning that we are an adventurer, he tells us that he will set us on the right path. He says that before we can go about exploring, all adventurers are required to register and make their presence known in the city. He also informs us without some local knowledge, we're likely to get our throats slit in the back alleyway. He tells us to quickly head to the Drowning Wrench and enroll with the Adventurers Guild. If we head straight down the street, we can take the Crow's Lift to the pub. Once at the Drowning Wrench, we are greeted by Baderon, the owner of the Drowning Wrench. We introduce ourselves as a new adventurer, and he tells us we will find no short work in Limsa for sure. He welcomes us to the Drowning Wrench and home of the Adventurers Guild. He comments that adventurers have a knack for finding trouble, so he's more than often trying to save them from danger than managing his own bar. He comments that there's trouble everywhere, and even if we manage to stay away from kobolds and Sahagin, there's always the Garlean Empire knocking at their doors. He tells us that Eorzea took a heavy hit during the calamity, but their homes weren't the only things they lost from the dragon that attacked that day. People also seem to suffer from memory loss, which doesn't make any sense because none of the people who lived through that day can agree on what really happened, and it all gets foggy. People will fear the future if they cannot recall the past, and one thing everyone remembers is a group of adventurers who risked their lives to save Eorzea, even though it wasn't their homeland. Sadly, they cannot recall their names or what they look like, and just that they were there for Eorzea in its time of crisis. Finally, he tells us to sign our names in the book, and we can officially be recognized by Limsa. We are interrupted by the Yellowjackets asking if we sailed on the last ferry, saying the captain reported being attacked by a pirate ship. Several witnesses have said that a passenger matching our description went out on deck moments before the incident took place. He implies that we were sending the pirates a signal, and Baderon tells them that they have the wrong guy and that we are his grandma's sister's niece's cousin's closest companion, and wouldn't be caught dead with unsavory people. The Yellow Jacket member comments that with the recent kidnappings, we cannot be too trusting of outsiders, and at times like this, we should even question our closest friends. Baderon comments that he has a good point, but that he will keep one eye open at all times. Satisfied, the Yellow Jackets leave. Baderon tells us to forgive the Yellow Jackets, as there's been many kidnappings lately, and they don't have a clue who's behind them. Naturally, they've begun suspecting anyone who looks vaguely suspicious, which means pretty much anyone in town. Focusing back on our conversation before they showed up, Baderon welcomes us to Limsa Lominsa, where the seas are green as much as the faces of his patrons when they drink too much. Oh joy. Baderon sends us to attune ourselves to the crystal, a device that is used to teleport to Limsa at any time. Second, we head to the marketplace where we can find weapons, armor, and anything else we may need while adventuring. Our third task is to visit the Marauders Guild and learn how to properly swing our axe around. After doing these tasks, we return to Baderon, and he has a job for us outside of Limsa's walls. His friend has a crew of mostly reformed pirates, and he's trying to bring some fields back to life after the calamity struck. He needs another hand or two, and our name sprang to his mind, so he gave us a good recommendation. He gives us directions before sending us on our way, telling us to work hard and impress his friend. We head to the farm in Middle Noscea to meet with Stale Vern. He greets us and says that we've honored Baderon's word by showing up, which is a good start. He welcomes us to his humble orchard, also telling us that many who worked there once terrorized the high seas, and that they were also crew on his pirate ship. Sadly, the ship was damaged in the calamity, and he wound up here afterwards when trying to figure out how to feed himself and his crew. Unfortunately, most of the pirates haven't been able to get into tending the soil, and the botanists he called to train them have all but given up. After getting some better gear, we present ourselves to Stalvern, and he tells us with this gear he will have no problem throwing us to the sharks. He tells us that the abduction issue is affecting them here as well. Some unsavory folks with azure tattoo faces have been spying from the edges of the field on his men. It's caused people on the farm to worry, and work is suffering because of it, which is not what he wants. He wants us to go investigate these men for him, for sooner this gets resolved, the sooner everything can go back to normal. He tells us to check Seasong Grotto, as that seems to be where they've occupied themselves for the time being. We head off to find that no one is there.
I am the waves that bear. I am the winds that guide. I am the evening stars. I am the morning sky. I am born of the sea, and there shall I die. Thus reads the sailor's requiem, carved into yonder stone. Such words well describe the manner in which the citizens of Limsa Lominsa live their lives. It is both a litany against misfortune for those out on the waves, and a prayer that the souls of those who perish on land might find their way back to the sea. Ah, you are the adventurer I've seen around Summerford Farms. I thought myself on the trail of the kidnappers, but it would seem I have missed my mark. Or perhaps not. As I suspected, the etheric disturbance here is no natural occurrence. Nor is it a coincidence that the two of us should come here in search of those responsible for the disappearances, only to be attacked. But who stands to benefit from the keeping of this secret? Oh, such thoughts must wait. Let us attend to the task at hand, unpleasant though it be.
We are suddenly attacked, but with the help of our new conjurer friend, we take down the monsters.
Phew!
Hear, feel, think. Crystal Bearer. I am Hydaelyn, all made one. A light there once was that shone throughout this realm, yet it hath since grown dim. And as it hath faltered, so hath darkness risen up in its stead, presaging an end to life. For the sake of all, I beseech thee, deliver us from this fate. The power to banish the darkness dwelleth in the crystals of light. Journey forth and lay claim to them. By thy deeds shall the crystals reveal themselves to thee. Only believe, for the light liveth in thy heart. Go now. child, and shine thy light on all creation.
Awake again, are we? Aha! The poor creature's fury was kindled with cruel forethought. See this blade? I found it in the Gubu's back. I have seen knives of this kind before. They are most commonly used for the cutting of rope. It would appear our culprits are seafaring men of some persuasion, piratical being the most probable. In any event, you seem much recovered from your sudden affliction. I confess, I was rather taken aback when you collapsed at the very moment of our victory. Mayhap a surfeit of ether? I beg your pardon. A towering crystal. I'm sure I don't... Oh! Well, well. This has been a day of unexpected revelations. I must continue my investigation. In the meantime, I suggest you deliver this knife to your patron, along with a warning concerning the pirate's probable involvement in this murky business. The days ahead promise little rest, I fear. May our paths cross again, under the light of the crystal.
We return to Stalevern with the knife. He also agrees the knife would be part of his seafaring man's kit. He thinks the ruffians are pirates trying to get his farm hands back to the life of plunder, and because we are investigating, they set a Gubu on us. We tell him of the woman that we met in the grotto, which he says is Y'shtola. She is odd, but is for sure not associated with the kidnappers. We have his word on it. In fact, she is an ally to all of Limsa and been helping them since the calamity. Stalevern tells us of Severin, one of his farmhands, and his group are never around when there's work to be done. He would hire us in their place, but they'd never learn their lesson. He tells us to round them up and let them know he'd like a word and not to take no for an answer. After doing so, we return to Stalevern, and he tells us we continue to impress him and all, but Severin is not accounted for. He doesn't blame us for Severin not showing up, and that he himself has had issues with keeping him in check before. He tells us that he knows Severin is doing shady deals behind his back, and more than once he's heard him trading with goblins. In fact, he's sure it's going on now, and he wants us to confront Severin and cast doubt on anything that comes out of his mouth. So off we go to find Severin. When we do so, he tells us to be gone. We show him our doubt, and he asks us to rescue his friends from double-dealing goblins. So quickly, we come to their aid and take care of the goblins. He tells us that he owes us for saving his friends, and it's a shame that he couldn't help them, but a pirate has no shame. He then sends us to deliver the sack of oranges to Lothongren checkpoint. Returning to Stalevern, he is happy we delivered the oranges, but had held out hope that Severin would come around eventually. He tells us to be careful, for if he left his friends for dead, just imagine what he would do to us. We then speak with Gurkant. He tells us that the crops won't be ready in time without black loom, and wants us to go find some. They tell us to go visit Rotvwinda, and she'll know where to find some. When we visit her, she tells us she will not get him black loom. She tells us to go get black loom from the cook pot. We head to the cook pot and slay wounded aurochs to get the black loom. After getting it all, we head back to Gurkant's farmhand and learn that black loom is in fact Aurochro's poop. The farmhand tells us he is frustrated by the pirates as they know nothing of tilling and only killing. He needs us to retrieve farm tools they have stolen. So we go to take care of the matter. When we return, he is happy the tools have returned in usable condition, but he suspects Severin has something to do with the disappearance of the tools. He informs us that he saw Severin meeting with the pirates in secret, and he doesn't care if Severin doesn't work, but when he steals tools, he has crossed the line. Quickly, we return to Stelvwyn, who tells us that his treachery won't go unpunished. Stelvwyn tells us that it eases him knowing we will listen to his plight. Stelvwyn tells us that a letter came for Severin, and since then, he's been acting suspicious. He feels this time may be different from the others, as he didn't look defeated, but hunted, and since gathered his buddies and took off. Stelvwyn tells us to talk to Grinvida near the Aetheryte, as she was the last one to see him. When talking to her, she tells us that they headed in the direction of Wood Whisper Canyon, talking about drinking. We head that way and find one of Severin's friends kneeling on the ground. Upon aiding him, we learn that Severin has betrayed them, and he asks us to aid his friends that didn't manage to get away. When heading further in, we find another person who managed to get away. This time, we learn that his axe was useless against them, and he hopes we fare better than him. Thank you guys for watching. Tune in next week where we continue on with the Limsa Lominsa starting area questline. I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone.